detail, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. It's 6 o'clock. Easter's just beginning. The place is jumping. Ooh, what a lovely scene. Gotta let you know the deal. Ooh, 'cause I'm for real. Oh, let the DJ. Let's get to it. Story number 1. There are still mixed feelings about the vaccine, but is it working? America's vaccination rates are increasing, but there are still mixed feelings about the vaccine. Most people are using the second up and last in approach, meaning they're waiting to see the first people go in and see what happens to the people who take the vaccine first. So that's the strategy. Now, a large number of medical professionals are still urging people to get vaccinated, but with cases on the rise, the new data has COVID-19 still winning the battle with or without the vaccines. Now, one key talking point in the story is the fact that COVID-19 cases are still on the upswing. They're still rising even with people getting vaccinated, and that's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2, lobbyists and digging deeper into Trump's tax cuts. New stories are emerging about the ripple effect of what is happening now inside of the post-Trump tax cut era. One report in The Guardian goes to the max, explaining Trump's tax cuts by digging deeper into what happened to AT&T, which was one of many companies that lobbied for the tax cuts and are now cutting jobs. Now, in this article, the reporter points out some hard facts that will bring the readers into what can and cannot work when dealing with taxpayer money, especially when you gamble. Now, in this developing story, analysts will be digging deeper into the winners and losers of the post-Trump tax cut era. I got to get it right. Now, analysts will also be summing up if President Biden's policies would be a better fit compared to Trump's. I'm sure you understand and get all this. They're just comparing one plan to the other and seeing which plan could work. But what Trump has on his side is COVID-19 may have interfered with his big plans, and that's why story number 2 made it in this week. Story number 3. The Biden camp may see tax increases as the answer. It's looking like the Biden camp looks to go after the high earners to pay the bills. A new report by Axios says that he plans to raise corporate tax rates from 21% to 28%, which over 10 years would bring in $730 billion. Now, he also wants to impose a global minimum tax on profits from foreign subsidiaries, which would bring in $550 billion. Another plan is to tax capital gains as regular income for the wealthy and tax unrealized capital gains at death, which would amount to $370 billion. Now, his last move is to tax top earners making more than $400,000. Now, this is to the pre-Trump rate of 39.6%, which would bring in $110 billion. He's taxing. Now, the article is very clear and cuts straight to the point that Joe Biden plans to increase taxes to pay for his massive spending bills. Now, the article does point out opposition, though. But the reality of his plan is clear cut, which is where else will he get the money to pay the bills? Now, we also see a difference in strategies here. Trump cut taxes and the people who knew what to he cut taxes on the people who knew what to do with the money, and he also, in result, he boosted the economy. And now Biden plans to increase taxes and spread the money around, aka the trickle-down economic effect, if you are familiar with that. Now, it will be very interesting to see how this story develops, and if I got something wrong in this whole thing, I'm sure you understand that This is a very elaborate plan compared to Trump, who was trying to minimize as much government as possible, and now we're seeing government kind of being expanded as usual, and that's why story number 3 made it in this week. Story number 4: China and Iran team up, and the banking business has been taking a hit. Investors are watching what the article calls a significant U.S.-based hedge fund. Now, inside of the details and lengthy CNN article is the new reality taking center stage when it comes to investment strategies and money. A few well-known companies are making headlines after investors took to the airwaves reporting huge losses that eventually affected a number of banks. Now, the article goes on to make readers aware that this may not be the tip of the iceberg, but does make people alert that only time will tell how this story will develop or unfold. Now, the article does talk about insider trading scandals, which always catches the attention of anyone involved in the market. Now, the key talking point in story number 4 is the fact that there's been banks failing because of shady things that have been going on in Wall Street, people playing and manipulating stocks. Now, there's another report. One Fox News story points out a new move by China, who just made a deal with Iran worth $400 billion and will link the two countries who currently have sour relations with America, the United States, together. Now, will link them together for 25 years within this already sour relationship. Now, this could create a Chinese-Iranian bank, possibly upending U.S. sanctions. Now, this story is still developing, but that's why it made it in this week. Big headline, big developing news stories. Well, those are our top 4 headlines and developing international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't go anywhere. You're on the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. Are you tired of the same old stuff? Need someone to lean on? To keep you informed? Do you feel like you need some encouragement and want to hear about what's going on in life? Well, you're at the right place, tuning in to Love and Mediation, all bottled up into one program. I know you feel it. I know you love it. Woo! Because I do. Don't you feel it? The power of being informed. Let's get to it, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. World leaders are not happy with COVID-19. They're upset. Now, WHO, the World Health Organization, says that as studies go on, it remains evident that the spread of COVID-19 likely came from an animal. Now, either way, world leaders are not happy. No matter where it came from, they're not happy with the almost unlimited number of problems that this virus, COVID-19, has caused when having to manage health orders and govern their country at the same time. Now, some countries have been crippled and can't even afford to vaccinate their own people. A very large number of poor countries have also lost aid. Some leaders have even lost their job and have had to deal with the growing problem of poverty within their own country. The story is still developing, and that's why it made it in this week. Story number 6. How much will it cost to fix America's infrastructure? A lot of money. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers, it will take nearly $2.6 trillion over the course of 10 years $2.6 trillion over the course of 10 years to fix America's crumbling infrastructure. One CNN article points out the numbers when referring to the positives in investing in America's infrastructure. That means they're looking at the bright side of how much money and jobs this would create. The article talks about how much money will be made while keeping people working to fix the roads we drive on, and how much people will save on car damage, etc. every year. Now, the key to this developing story is how the Biden administration plans to pay for all of this by taxing businesses and high earners. The $2.1 trillion boost to public infrastructure spending, according to the article, would increase and create 2.3 million jobs by 2024, injecting $5.7 trillion into the economy by 2029. The story is worth a read because the numbers are eye-popping when you do the math. Story number 6 is why I made it in this week. Big headline, big developing news story. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. Will the Biden strategy create more jobs? We need jobs. Trump's idea of less government and more corporate spending while cutting taxes got upended by COVID-19 and cost him his job in D.C. Now, his thrashing attitude and his upfront idea to grow America by America may have altered traditional policy ideas when comparing how the U.S. Congress works. But in today's world, when you gamble, sometimes some people will lose and some people will win. Joe Biden's approach is what spectators are calling traditional Democrat policies that many feel increase government spending by taking away from the high earners. Now, as new data comes in, the United States of America will see which plan will create more jobs. So far, the border construction has been axed, cut, causing more border problems. The Keystone Oil Pipeline project has been axed, cut, causing more job losses, and Biden plans to come to the aid of spenders by taxing the high earners. AT&T also plans to cut jobs in retrospect to what I told you before. Now, this is in the transition from Trump's tax cuts. So at the end of the day, only time will tell what works and what doesn't work. I'm sure you get the picture that this story is still developing. Story number 7. That's why I made it this week. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Unpaid bills are piling up. Although unpaid bills are piling up, government assistance is still on its way. Jobless claims also fell to 684,000. That's the fewest since the pandemic hit, according to multiple reports. This is all as many employers try to rebound. So all this is taking place in the rebounding when people are trying to get things back together. Now, the key to this story is that if we want to see progress and get the bills paid, the country has to get 18.9 million people off of jobless benefits and back on the workroom floor. One last concern in this developing story is the opposition that Joe Biden's spending plan is facing. Now, onlookers are very worried about his accountability and the accountability period for Joe Biden's spending plans. Story number 8. We got to pay the bills. Pay the automobiles. I'm sure you understand. The bills have to be paid. Somebody has to pay them. You have to pay them. Taxpayer has to pay them. Somebody's got to pay the bills. I'm sure you get the picture. I'm sure you understand. We've got to pay the bills. Somebody's got to pay the bills. I'll say it one more time. We have to pay the bills. Pay the bills. Well, those are our top 8 international headlines and developing news stories, local and international. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out doing the research. I found out that somebody's got to pay the bills. Somebody's got to pay the bills. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the media, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just a man in the middle, the mediator. If you want to show us some support, it doesn't take much. Visit the website on the screen. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program and pray that we can pay the bills. I'll be back next week reading through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed so you can know how we're going to pay the bills. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Have a good week, everybody. Have a good holiday. Thank you for tuning to The Mediator with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.